And we are going to the new lesson. New lesson, it's a Japanese story. Japanese story, and it is here it is written by an Englishman whose name is William Elliot Griffiths. Okay. So shall we start? It's a very beautiful poem. The ashes that made peace bloom. This is a story about a honest and hard-working old couple and their pet dog. The neighbors are troublesome, and the dog dies a sad death. The spirit of the dog gives solace and support to his master in unexpected ways. Okay, did you get the story? It's a story about a very honest man and his wife. Very honest, very hardworking, and their pet dog. But all their neighbors were troublesome parents and the neighbors, and finally what happened? This dog died. But even after its death, that faithful dog helped their master. And let us see how the faithful dog spirit helped their master. Okay. In the good old days of the Danes, there lived an old couple. Whose only pet was a little dog. Having no children, they loved it as though it were a baby. The old dame made it a cushion of blue crepe, and at mealtime, Muko, for that was his name, would sit on it as smug as any cat. Okay. The kind people fed the pet with tidbits of fish from their own chopsticks and all the boiled rice it wanted. Thus treated the dumb creature. The dumb creature loved its protectors like a being with a soul. Did you understand? It's very simple language it is, but only thing is you have to read twice so that it gets into your mind. Just consider it. And old people just come to it's like a drama. It's written like a drama. So the first scene you see old people. Okay, very old people. They are very good people, and they have a pet dog. And since they did not have any children, they considered the dog as their own child. And how did they love it? They gave. And what was the name of that? It was Muku. And they gave him fed the parents. How did they feed it? With small bits of fish. And fish from their own chopsticks. So these are Chinese and Japanese people, they eat with their chopsticks. Haven't you seen in Japanese fellas? Yeah. And from using that same chopsticks, they used to feed this dog also. Okay. And since it was, they gave fish and boiled rice. So what they eat, that means what they ate, they gave a part of it to the dog also. And made it a cushion of blue crepe. So, okay, smug as any cat means, as cat comfortably crawls in a cushion, this dog also will comfortably crawl on the cushion given to him by his owners. Okay, and so this dog also loved their masters like single soul. Okay. സ്വന്തം ജീവനെ പോലെ അവരെയും നോക്കി. The old man, being a rich rice farmer, went daily with hoe or spade into the fields, working hard from morning until Otentosuma, just say the sun, okay, had gone down behind the hills. That right from the morning till evening, this rice farmer went to the field with his the things which are used to plow in the fields, and He'll work till evening. So 10 to summer means sun, settled down, sun in their language. Every day the dog followed him to work. So farmer will go along with him, the dog will also go. Never once harming the white heron that walked in the footsteps of the old man to pick up the worms. What did you understand? Heron is a small bird, okay, crane-like bird, and that bird, when we walk, there will be small ants or some worms like there on the ground. These heron is coming to pick up that small worms. But this dog, ordinarily, what does a dog do when a heron comes on the ground? Bow, it will bow. But this dog was so pious that it won't hurt even that heron. Okay. So, for that old fellow was patient and kind to everything that he had life, and often turned up his sword on purpose to give food to the birds. Why did the dog behave like that? Because his master was like that. So what did the master do? While walking, he'll turn tiny stones. Under the stones which are on the ground, what do you see? Tiny small worms, this, that, or all will be there. So these birds can eat that. So seeing such a good master, being mastered by such a good person, this dog also was very kind to other animals. So what is the writer trying to tell us? If you have a good mentor, or your friend is good, then you will also automatically catch his good behavior. So he is telling to be always polite and be in good company. Yeah. One day the dog came running to him, putting his paws against his legs, motioning with his head to some spot behind. The old man at first thought his pet was only playing and did not mind, but the dog kept on winning and running to and fro for some minutes. Then the old man followed the dog a few yards to a place where the animal began a loud, lively scratching. Thinking it was possibly a buried bone or a bit of fish, the old man stuck his hoe on in the earth when lo, a pail of gold gleamed before him. What did you understand, children? As usual, this man was walking with the dog. One day, one fine morning, what happened? The dog began to scratch on the ground and pointed to some place behind it with its head. At first, the man thought the dog was playing. But finally, when this dog was continuing doing this and it was doing it frantically, this man went and thought maybe it was a bone which is buried down on the ground. And so he took his spade and started to dig. What did he see? There was a pile of gold, and that was what the dog wanted him to take. Thus, in an hour, the old couple were made rich. So, this old couple originally were poor, now they became rich. The good souls brought a piece of land, made a feast for their friends, and gave plentifully to their poor neighbors. As for the dog, they petted him till they nearly smothered him with kindness. So these people were good, I told, right? So what did they do? They became rich. Within a day they became rich. Within hours they became rich. Okay? Then what did they do? They gave grand party to the, not like others who just keep it a secret. They gave party to everybody, they gave food to the poor, they helped the poor, and they began to pat this animal. The author is telling, they patted and patted till nearly smothered him with kindness. Finally, he started aching his neck. Okay, now in the same village there lived a wicked old man and his wife, not a bit sensitive and kind, who had always kicked and scolded all dogs whenever any passed their house. Hearing of their neighbor's good luck, they coaxed the dog into their garden and set before him beds of fish and other dainties, hoping he would find fresher for them. But the dog, being afraid of the cruel pain, would neither eat nor move. What did they, in the same village there was a wicked man and his wife. So they were not like these men. They were very cruel pairs. Okay, what happened? Whenever the dog came, they'll just beat it. They'll just throw stones at it. Okay, so when they heard this dog has given them all the men to this old couple, which I told first, they found out their dog and finally giving some tidbits of fish and meat to that dog, finally managed to take that dog to their courtyard. മനസ്സിലായി? ഈ നായയാണ് എടുത്തിട്ട് കൊടുത്തതെന്ന് പറഞ്ഞപ്പോൾ എല്ലാത്തിനെ മനുഷ്യ കൊണ്ടുവന്നിട്ട് എങ്ങനെ കൊണ്ടുവന്ന കുറച്ച് നായല്ലേ എല്ലും മീനിൻ്റെ കഷ്ണങ്ങളൊക്കെ ഇട്ട് കൊടുത്തപ്പോൾ അത് വരും വിചാരിച്ചു. ഓക്കെ. But the dog, being afraid of their cruel pair, neither bit nor moved. But the dog did not eat it and did not move because he was afraid, because he had seen these pair treating other dogs badly and other animals. Then they dragged him out of doors, taking a spade and hoe with them. No sooner had the dog got near a pantry growing in the garden that he began to hoe and scratch the ground as if a mighty treasure lay beneath. But as this dog was not doing anything, it was not eating, what did they do? They started dragging the dog. And the dog finally went with them. And when he reached near a pine tree, which you can see there, the dog started scratching the ground as if there was something gold in it. Okay, you'll see what happened. Okay, quick wife, hand me the spade and hoe. So he just handed the spade and hoe, and this wicked man started digging the ground. Then the covetous old greedy old fellow with a spade and old cron. Old cron means old woman. Okay, old wicked woman. Okay, cron with a hoe began to dig, but there was nothing but a dead kitty. What was there? Dead kitty. The smell of which made them drop their tools and shut their noses. Furious at the dog, the old man kicked and beat him to death, and the old woman finished the work by merely chopping off his head with a sharp hook. Then they flung him into the hole and hid the earth under the carcass. What did they do? See, what did the dog show when they opened it? What was the carcass of a dead cat? And when you take it out, the smell will make you close your mouth and all your openings. And out of anger, what did this man do? He started beating the dog. Finally, the dog died. And the woman was not up with her anger. So she could not control, and she just gave a cut to his throat. Whose throat? Dog's throat, which has already done. And what did they do? They put him in the hole which they had done to see the treasure, and just heaped mud over that. Okay. The owner of the dog heard of the death of his pet and mourning for him as if he had been his own child, went at night under the pine tree. He set up some bamboo tubes in the ground, such as are used before tombs, in which he put fresh flowers. Then he laid a cup of water and a tray of food on the grave and burned several costly sticks of incense. He mourned a great while over his pet, calling him many dear names as if he were alive. Did you understand, children? What did this man do? Finally this good old man heard about his pet's treacherous death, I should say. What did he do? At night he went to that place where everybody knows he began to stick bamboo sticks in it. He just keep it in a circle around that place. മരിച്ച ശവക്കല്ലറകളൊക്കെ കാണാൻ നമ്മൾ വേറിട്ട് സ്ഥലങ്ങൾ വയ്ക്കില്ലേ, അങ്ങനെ വെച്ചു. എന്നിട്ട് he burned incense sticks. ഓക്കെ, എന്നാൽ അങ്ങനെയാണ് ചെയ്യുക. മരിച്ച സ്ഥലത്തൊക്കെ നമ്മൾ അങ്ങനെയല്ലേ ചെയ്യുക. വെക്കും, ആ സ്ഥലം വേർതിരിച്ച് വെക്കും, എന്നിട്ട് പ്രാർത്ഥിക്കും. Okay, and he started crying. And മോനെ ചക്കരേ പല good words ഒക്കെ വിളിക്കാൻ തുടങ്ങി, as if he was alive. That night the spirit of the dog appeared to him in a dream and said, "Cut down the pine tree over my grave and make from it water for your rice pastry and milk for your bean sauce." So when he, after much grief, what happened? Then somebody came in his dreams. It was that dog. He told him, just cut out that pine tree, the pine tree. In the body, pine tree, just cut down and burn it. And another pine tree, make a mortar from for your rice pastry and meal for your bean sauce. ഇത് രണ്ടും ഉണ്ടാക്കാനും മില്ല് ഉണ്ടാക്കാനും എന്തിന് നെല്ല് പൊടിക്കാനും അതിനൊക്കെ വേണ്ടിയിട്ട് മില്ല് ഉണ്ടാക്കാനും ഇത് ഒരില്ലുണ്ടാക്കാനും. Okay, mortar. Okay. So the old man chopped down the tree and cut out of the middle of the trunk a section about 2 feet long with a great labor, partly by fire, partly by his chisel. He scraped out a hollow place as big as a small bowl. You understood? A pine tree in the near the dicker, നല്ല വലിയൊരു തടിയിൽ 2 ഇഞ്ചിൽ കെട്ടിയിട്ട് he first with the spade, കുടിക്കാൻ നല്ല പണിയല്ല, അത് ഹോളോ ആക്കണ്ടേ, ഒരലല്ലേ ഉണ്ടാകും. അപ്പം കുറച്ച് തീയും വെച്ചു, പിന്നെ അവസാനം കുടിച്ചു കൊടുത്തിട്ട് he made a hollow in that. Okay. When the New Year's time, he then made a long handle hammer of wood, such as is used for pounding rice. Long hammer ഉണ്ട്, ഒരലയ്ക്ക് വരില്ല. Okay. When New Year's time drew near, he wished to make some rice pastry. When the rice was all boiled, Granny put it into the mortar. The old man lifted his hammer to pound the mass into dough, and the blows fell heavy and fast till the pastry was ready for baking. Suddenly the whole mass turned into a heap of porcpines, and then the old man took the hand mill and filling it with beans began to grind. The gold dropped like rain. That was magic enough. So as the spirit of the dog told, they had made a mortar. Then the beans millu. So Christmas time, what were they doing? They wanted to make a rice pastry. They put boiled rice into it and started beating it, and they had to make it into a dough. So what happened? When they were about ready to be baked, gold coins came out of it. Gold drop and beans of the beans put in gold under rain. Okay. Meanwhile, the envious neighbor peeped in at the window when the boiled beans were being got. Goody me, cried the old hag as he saw each dropping of sauce turning into yellow gold until in a few minutes the tub under the mill was full of shining mass of gold. Somebody saw it, somebody was peeping. Who was that? That wicked neighbor. He saw the wicked hag. Okay, wicked neighbor, he saw that when the beans was being pounded, what was coming? Gold was being falling as rain, and finally that box which was kept to collect this floor, it was full of gold. Okay, so the old couple were rich again. The next day, the stingy and wicked neighbor came and borrowed the mortar and the magic tree. Aha! And these fools gave it. Okay, they filled one with boiled rice and the other with beans. Then the old man began to pound and the woman to grind. But at the first blow and turn, the pastry and sauce turned into foul mass of worms. Still more angry at this, they chopped the meal into pieces. Juices fell. What did they do? They borrowed it. When they started doing it, instead of gold, what came? Ugly, dirty smelling worms came out of it. foul-smelling mass, okay, mass of worms at the one. Okay. Then, not long after that, what did they do? They were angry. They took it, chopped it into pieces, and made it as finally in the mortar, a grinding machine. Okay. No long after that, the good old man dreamt again, and the spirit of the dog talked to him, telling him how the wicked people had burned the mill made from the pine tree. Take the ashes of the mill, sprinkle them on the withered trees, and they will bloom again. Dog the spirit. They told the whole story. Dog and the story partnered. And you take that ashes. Story is a very formula. Ashes. Ashes is the old withered only trees in the mold, they will bloom again. Okay. The old man awoke and went at once to his wicked neighbor's house, where he found the miserable old pair sitting at the edge of the square fireplace in the middle of the floor, smoking and spinning. From time to time, they warmed their hands and feet with a blaze from some bits of the mill, while behind them lay a pile of broken pieces. Did you understand? These wicked people, what they were doing? They were spinning and they were getting cold. അപ്പോൾ കോൾഡ് ആയപ്പോൾ അവരെന്താ ചെയ്തത്? ബ്രോക്ക് ചെയ്ത മിൽമില്ല അതെടുത്തിട്ടാണ് അവർ കത്തിക്കുന്നത്. Some pieces were there also left behind them. The good man humbly asked for the ashes. Though the covetous couple turned up their noses at him and scolded him as if he were a thief, they let him fill his basket with ashes. This good old man asked that kind of child also they looked him as a thief. You have come to stole us the they told him, just take. On coming home, the old man took his wife into the garden. In being winter, their favorite cherry tree was there. He sprinkled a pinch of ashes on it, and lo, it sprouted blossoms until it became a cloud of pink blooms which perfumed the air. The news of this filled the village, and everyone ran out to see the wonder. Okay, see, when the old man came, and the good old man came home and told the whole story, his wife and took a pinch of it and put it on the cherry tree. തണുപ്പ് കാലം വരുമ്പോൾ ഈ ചെറിയ ട്രീയിലൊന്നും ഒന്നും ഉണ്ടാവില്ല, അത് ഇങ്ങനെ ഉണങ്ങിയിരിക്കും. But the moment this was put, ashes was put on it, it became full of cherries. Okay, this couple also heard the story, and gathering up the remaining ashes of the men, kept them to make withered trees blossom. Oh, okay. Still this wicked people are there. They took the ashes and the little gesture withering trees in the model it would have. The kind old man, hearing that his lord, the daimyo ന്റെ കാലമായിരുന്നത്, ലാൻഡ് ആണ്, നല്ല കാലമാണ്. നമ്മുടെ മാവേലി നാട് വേണ്ടിയിരുന്ന കാലം പോലെയാണ്. ഡേമിയോസ് നല്ല ആളുകളാണ്, ലാൻഡ് ലോർഡ്സ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള. Was to pass along the high road near the village, set out to see him, taking his basket of ashes. As the train approached, he climbed up into an old withered cherry tree that stood by the wayside. So what did he do? He stood on a withered tree, and the Tarakudeana, he demoed in them. When you are a rich person, an influential person. Now in the days of daimyos, it was the custom when their lord passed by for all the loyal people to shut up their high windows. They even pasted them fast with a slip of paper so as not to commit the impertinence of looking down on his lordship. As the people along the road would fall upon their hands and knees and remain prostrate until the procession passed. So it is that old time. People, out of respect to this daimyo, everybody would come to the streets, and when the daimyo is walking, they will bend on their knees and hands. Hands in the knees, they'll get up. The two-story buildings are like people who are on the top story, they will close their windows. Close their doors windows. എന്തിനാണ് മുകളിൽ താഴോട്ട് നോക്കുന്ന അപരാധമൊന്നും ചെയ്യാതിരിക്കാൻ. Okay. The train drew near. One tall, competent man marched ahead, crying out to the people by the way, "Get down on your knees, get down on your knees." And everyone kneeled down while the procession was passing. So this was passing by, people were kneeling. Suddenly the leader of the van caught sight of an aged man up the tree. He was about to call out to him in an angry tone, but seeing he was such an old fellow, he pretended not to notice him and passed him by. So when the daimyo's palanquin drew near, the old man, taking a pinch of ashes from his basket, scattered it over the tree. In a moment, he burst into blossom. Oh, okay. So I told you the daimyo's palanquin. He was being carried in a palanquin. Okay. So this one of his men, daimyo and the men, saw that old man on the tree, and he was about to, "Hey, come down. The king is daimyo is going. Shall you see him come down?" He wanted to say that, but since the man on the tree was very old, he thought, let him be there. I'll tell king I did not see him, if ever he noticed. Okay, so then what happened when the palanquin's robe was made? What did the old man do? Took a pinch of ashes of that mortar and put it on the old tree. What happened? Suddenly it bloomed. It was magic, no? Okay. Suddenly the delighted daimyo ordered the train to be stopped and got out to see the wonder. Calling the old man to him, he thanked him and ordered presents of silk roads, sponge cake, fans and other rewards to be given. Daimyo was seeing all this. He saw that man putting this and suddenly blooming, everything he saw. He was surprised. What is this? They called that man, gave him all the riches, he told. And he was awarded. Good old man, okay, he even invited him to his castle. One day, come to my castle, he told. So the old man went gleefully home to share his joy with his dear old wife. But when the greedy neighbor heard of it, he took some of the magic and greedy man, "I have the ashes with me, I'll take some of it." There he waited until the daimyo's train came along, and the train was coming in the procession. That means, okay. Instead of kneeling down like the crowd, he climbed a withered tree. What did he do? When palanquin was coming, everybody will kneel on the ground. But this man also did the same thing. He climbed up a tree, cherry tree, old withered cherry tree. When the daimyo himself was almost directly under him, he threw a handful of ashes over the tree, which did not change as practical. The wind blew the first dust into the noses and eyes of the daimyo and his wife. Such sneezing and choking, it spoiled all the pomp and dignity of the procession. The man whose business it was to cry, "Get down on your knees," seized the old fool by the collar, dragged him from the tree and tumbled him and his ash basket into the ditch by the road. Then beating him soundly, he left him for dead. What happened? This man also did the same thing what the old man did. When the daimyo was just above him, he sprinkled it. But at that same time, who came? Wind came, took this ashes and dust as it was carried. And where did it reach? The daimyo's eyes and his wife's eyes and to the nose. They started sneezing. The chin was angry, everything was destroyed. See, when the procession is going, everybody will be walking with great pomp and show. At that time, everybody sneezed, what will happen? Chin was angry. So his men, what did he do? He just took him by his collar, that wicked man who was standing on the tree and putting on this. And he was beaten and finally he was put into a ditch. Thus the wicked old man died in the mud, but the kind friend of the old dog dwelt in peace and plenty. Both he and his wife lived to a green old age. So that's a very nice story and a very good story. And what did you learn by this story? If you do good things, that will come up to you along with it. And if you are just wicked and try all the wickedness, and it will not end up with you. That is the lesson you should study from this, and you should always be good in your acts and deeds. Okay, children, that's the end of this nice story, very nice story.